there's a little bit of a moment, a brief instant between the stimulus and the response. And that's what mindfulness for me is really about, right? It's like being conscious and aware of what we're doing and trying to find that little gap between, whatever triggers you and then just automatically on autopilot responding. And in that moment, just like you mentioned, take.
Hey everyone, this is Aaron and Juwan, and you're listening to Wellness for Real People. This show is for people who are on the go, busy, and looking for ways to live their best lives. We focus on wellness topics in mindfulness, exercise, diet, and sleep, and share quick actionable tactics to improve your health and wellness. We're not perfect, but we're trying to get a little better each day. Let's grow on this journey together.
All right, hey everybody, welcome back to Wellness for Real People. My name is Juwan, here with my co-host Aaron, and today we're going to talk about an article from the Mayo Clinic that focuses on why we stress eat and how to get a handle of it. So I thought it was a really insightful article, definitely something I struggle with, and they provided some really practical ideas and tips to help out. So, to kick the article off, the author talked about this, this idea that, food is available 24/7. We got this kind of instant button society, and everything at our disposal. Food is available, it's legal, it's easy to obtain, and it feels good, right? So that's what psychologist Dr. Susan Albers said. And so when we're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, she mentioned that our body pumps out cortisol, that hormone that, kicks off your fight or flight instincts. And that can also kind of put you in this heightened state. And then, food not only triggers a chemical reaction, but also an emotional response as well. And so it's all designed to try to help you, feel better and take away our stress, right? That's where that stress eating comes from. And the author mentioned that, research shows that stress eating only makes us feel better for about 3 minutes. I thought that was really fascinating,
I had the same
right?
thought. Yep.
Yeah. You get that temporary high, that temporary buzz, when you're just eating that food, comfort food, and it feels so good. But when you really think about it in terms of the, the long-term effects, right? It's really not worth the aftermath, right? Because now I gotta go and try to work all this food off, and all the other health complications that can come with, continuously stress eating. And so the first tip that she offered, I think, Aaron, you're gonna talk us through that. I thought it was really helpful
Yeah.
about mindfulness.
Yes, yeah. So Dr. Albers gives us some tips on how to manage this emotional stress eating. And the first one is something that we talk a lot about on this show in particular, and something that we are working towards is kind of really thinking about mindfulness in our approach. And the number one tip was to pause for mindfulness. So they say that stress eating is often kind of like that knee-jerk reaction. Like you feel that, that response, that cortisol trigger, and you think, oh, immediately I got to eat something. But really it helps to just take a moment and pause before you start eating and snacking. And so Dr. Albers recommends using the stop technique, which is easy to remember because it's just stop, right? So first one, stop, take a breath, T, observe how you're feeling. Are you hungry or just stressed, right? Because that's like a really important indicator, because it's like maybe you had just eaten lunch and you went through a really crazy intense meeting at work and now you're hungry again, but are you hungry or are you just stressed out about that moment? And then lastly is P, pick an activity or option that suits your feeling, whether it's food or a soothing activity. So think about that. Like you mentioned, mindfulness, stopping, really thinking through everything.
Yeah, I
And
love
then
that.
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, I really love that tip, that idea, right? That there's a little bit of a moment, a brief instant between the stimulus and the response. And that's what mindfulness for me is really about, right? It's like being conscious and aware of what we're doing and trying to find that little gap between, whatever triggers you and then just automatically on autopilot responding. And in that moment, just like she mentioned, taking a moment to just really just take a breath and think through, is this really going to help me feel better in the short term and the long term? Is this really what I want? Or am I just, like you mentioned, stressed or frustrated or lonely or bored or so many emotions that come
So
along with
many triggers.
yeah. And then I love that last piece, right? Pick an option that suits your feelings. So what is an activity that can actually address the issue that you're feeling? Because it may or may not be actual hunger, right? And so it's challenging to get to that space where, where we can be mindful in these moments. But I think it's great to have these ideas and tools in the toolkit and just try to practice it as best as we can, knowing we're never going to be perfect. But I thought that was a powerful technique.
Yeah, and that leads us into the next technique that I thought was really powerful too. So the article also mentions the next technique from Dr. Albers, which is figuring out what soothes you, and you can use this activity called the 5 5s. So what they recommend is to get out a piece of paper to do this exercise. So write down 5 people you can call when you feel down, upset, you need to vent, whether that's like a friend, a parent, a sibling, whoever that might be. 5 ways you like to really relax. So is that taking a hot shower? Is that, putting your feet up and relaxing? Is it reading a book? Whatever that is. And then 5 places you go to calm down. So that might be, taking a walk, going, outside, getting outdoors for a little bit. It might be your bedroom where you just like to relax and have some downtime. And then 5 things you can say to yourself, like, I can do this. This will pass. This is only temporary. I'm strong. I can get through this. So those kind of things, like those affirmations. And then 5 activities, again, that you can do to distract yourself. That could be watching a movie, running a quick errand, starting some kind of puzzle, doing something, fun and productive and healthy to kind of distract yourself from that feeling. So I thought that was really powerful, something that I took away from the article that I want to do, because often I have those responses, right, where it's like almost you don't even think about it, right? It's just habitual. You're like going through the motions and you're like, oh man, this was like a crazy busy day. And you just go grab like the bag of chips, or you grab something and you're like, oh, why am I even doing this? By the time you look up, you finish half of it. You didn't measure your portions. You're just eating out of the bag. And, before you know it, you're feeling kind of like stuffed and sluggish and regret. You just regret what you just did. A little shameful. So I thought that was really cool. Just kind of giving yourself some alternatives. And I think writing them down, it kind of gives you a reference point, right? So you don't have to think about it, because that's also the part too, right? When you have to like think about something, you're less likely to do it. But if it's right there on a piece of paper, boom, oh yeah, let me try this and let me try that, right? So definitely one of the ones I took away.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And like you mentioned, I think it's important to do it in advance, right? Because
Yeah.
when you get in the moment and you're stressed out, right, it's we kind of revert to old habits, or sometimes what we do on autopilot. So having, like you said, these things already written down and a place where you could easily access it, whether it's a note on your phone or just on your refrigerator or whatever, what have you, which make it a little bit easier to make a more thoughtful choices for sure. I thought specifically the one that I love in here is think about 5 ways you like to relax, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because we're talking about stress eating. So, I think the antidote to the stress is finding ways to relax and kind of balance that out. And so for me, one thing that always works, and that's free, completely free, and something I love this time of year because it's spring, it's just getting outside and going for a walk,
Mm-hmm.
a quick walk, right? Even if
Yep.
it's just around the block or to the park, nearby park, and walking around the park, it just automatically always makes me feel better,
Yep.
and sometimes I forget to do that because I'm just so busy working and at the house just plugging away, and sometimes I just stop myself and make sure I just take a break to just go for a walk in the middle of the day or in the evening, and it just makes all the difference in terms of helping me clear my head and ultimately hopefully make better decisions. So
Totally agree. Yeah, that's one I use a lot too. And it's like one of the reasons why I ended up getting a sit stand desk is because like standing up sometimes helps me to kind of relieve that feeling as well too, where I feel like I'm just kind of feeling huddled in and like hunched over the computer, and I'm like, I need to like stretch. So, stand up, walk around, but keep standing, like if you got to get something done, you have that option to like go back to your desk and do a few things, right? But not just kind of sitting in that cramped location and just huddled over the whole time. Kind of helps you, breathe, open up a little bit and get that movement, get that blood flow going. So something I do all the time too.
awesome. And then
All right.
step number 3, Dr. Albers talks about a stress breathing technique. She calls it the squeegee breath. I thought it was an interesting visual. So she says it's designed to wipe away your stress. And what you do is, number one, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and envision a squeegee that begins at the top of your head. Right. And then step two, exhale slowly and imagine the squeegee pushing the stress from, that begins at the top of your head. Uh, and kind of wiping all the way down to your, to the tip of your toes, right off of your body. So it's like a squeegee just kind of wiping the stress down, through your body. And just repeat this process 3 times. So I like that as a kind of a breathing exercise, and just kind of a mental picture that you can use to try to visualize the stress, and kind of releasing some of that stress from from your body and from your mind. Number 4, another great idea she mentioned, which is something near and dear to our heart, because we just happen to, who knows, we just happen to own
Mhm.
a tea company called Can Do Tea. But she talks about one great way to relieve stress is to make yourself a cup of tea. So she mentioned, it's actually been shown to reduce cortisol levels, right? So that stress hormone that kind of kicks off your fight or flight instincts. She mentioned a study that has shown that drinking a cup of tea can help reduce those cortisol levels, reduce stress levels. She said that in the study, that over 6 weeks of tea drinking, it actually lowered the cortisol levels and promoted relaxation. So I think that's an easy way to kind of reduce stress in your routine. Just having a cup of tea, whether that's first thing in the morning, just as kind of a nice way to start your day, or in the afternoon, maybe when you hit that that slump, or right after a meeting, or even in the evening. One of my favorite things to do is my little moment when I have my sleepy tea, right, in the evening,
Mhm.
after dinner, right, when I'm just kind of relaxing and calming down for the evening. So I think that works for me and definitely soothes me, but you find whatever works for you. I thought that was a great idea. I guess coupled with the tea idea, she mentioned soothing yourself with cinnamon. So this is interesting. She says, this popular pantry staple has been shown to regulate blood sugar in people who have diabetes, and also a helpful tool for curbing emotional eating. So, I'm not a big just grab a teaspoon of cinnamon and just kind of, eat it like that kind of thing. But I do find it interesting that, if you can incorporate a little bit of cinnamon into your diet, how that might also help with some stress relief. So those were some of the main ideas that she shared in the article. She has a few more that we didn't get to in this particular episode, but we'll link to the article in the show notes, so you can have all that information. Overall, Aaron, any kind of last thoughts you had on this idea of stress eating, and some ideas to get a handle of it?
Yeah, just the last piece is just kind of like, even, closing out the article and really just kind of letting go of the shame and the guilt of stress eating, because that's not helpful either, right? Because, overthinking it and causing yourself more grief and anxiety is only going to spike those levels even more, and maybe trigger that response to go even higher and keep you stress eating, while you're trying to solve the issue of stress. So I thought that was a good way to finish it. It's such a big deal with us and like eating culture and how we do things. And so really, it's not just to be, blame yourself or shameful about it, but just thinking about it, right? Being mindful about it, thinking about what's prompting this urge, thinking about what's making me feel overwhelmed, and then going back to the ones that we mentioned earlier about how can I make myself feel better in a different way, that doesn't require eating. Unless you're truly hungry, yeah,
Right.
go eat. But if you're
Right.
not, right, just take a time, think about it. So I thought that was kind of the most powerful thing too, is it's like also not being super hard on yourself, because we tend to do that a lot these days, is punish ourselves and beat ourselves up. But that's also not the right solution. It's more so just thinking about it and being mindful.
For sure, for sure. No, that's great. And she talks about when to get help, right? So, like you mentioned, we all do it. It's just a matter of not overdoing it, right? And like you said, trying to find the healthy habits on a day-to-day basis. but she mentioned if you're struggling with, frequent and, out of control, problematic stress eating episodes, and you can't seem to stop it, like no matter, you just can't seem to, control it, then it may be time to get help or bring in an expert. So she recommends, therapy can be a great tool to help you with stress management and helping to understand some of those triggers, and give you some tools and behavioral routines to respond to the stress. So I wanted to throw that out there as well. So it's always, important that if you feel like you need a little help and support, to go ahead and get it, that we don't have to be heroes and try to do everything on our own. So
Yep.
yeah, so I want to thank you for tuning in with us. I hope you found some value out of our discussion, our conversation today. Stay tuned for other episodes. We got more coming for you. And please do subscribe, leave a comment if you found the episode helpful, and we'll be back with another episode soon. Take care.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening.